हमको मालूम है बजट की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल को बहलाने के लिए निर्मला जी ये ख्याल अच्छा है. Anyway, I'm sorry to say, Mr. Chairman, that the announcements of this budget simply mask a betrayal by the government of the hopes and aspirations of the people. Tamanna asman ki thi, zameen bhi na mili. However, it was good to hear the Honorable Finance Minister quoting from the Mahabharata's Shanti Parva, talking about the duty of a king to govern the state in accordance with dharma. Of course, this government would do well to remember the equally prescient wisdom also in the same Shanti Parva, which warns that when a kingdom goes into decline, the life of that king is one of shame. As a more recent poet, Dushyant Kumar famously said, जिस दौर में मखलूक को मैसर नहीं रोटी, उस दौर के सुल्तान से कोई भूल हुई है. So what then is the state of this kingdom and the sultan? Any conversation on the state of this country must necessarily commence with the state of the people who make up the nation, sir. After all, there's no robust economy or GDP growth as abstract or theoretical concepts unless you're concerned about the welfare of the people who constitute this economy. That understanding of our economy is simply not there in our finance minister's budget. Partly as a result of the pandemic, and partly on account of consistent failures in policy making since 2014, the Aam Aadmi finds himself in an unprecedented state of distress. The Honorable Finance Minister in her address spoke about how her government constantly strives to provide the necessary ecosystem for the middle classes. I heard the Prime Minister also using this word. It's become the new favorite word of the government, the ecosystem. After seeing the contents of the budget, sir, the Indian middle class would like to know what is in this ecosystem. Was it the disruptive policy of demonetization that denied our citizens access to their own money overnight and caused widespread economic havoc and the unconscionable loss of lives? Was that part of the ecosystem for the middle class? Was this government's decision to repeatedly increase excise duties on fuel and their lethargy in tackling the drastic increase in the prices of basic commodities from LPG cylinders to pulses to edible oil, part of the so-called ecosystem for the middle class? LPG has gone up in 1 year in Delhi from 502 rupees to 899, sir. Is that the ecosystem they'd like to talk about? Or was it the proposal in this budget to reduce corporate surcharge from 12% to 7% while offering no change in either personal income tax rates or the slabs which are exempt from taxation at a time of severe economic distress? Is that also part of their grand ecosystem for the middle class after promising that they would do so in Mr. Jaitley's first budget of 2014? One thing that was made abundantly clear, even if ecosystem is not clear, is that for the middle class and the poor, who are both mentioned a grand total of 2 times in the speech, thereby betraying the real priorities of this government, this budget has served as a definitive and unconscionable letdown. Let's take the unemployment rates, Mr. Chairman. Just last week, the Center for the Monitoring of the Indian Economy published fresh data which pegged the unemployment rate as of January at 6.57%. This is certainly a welcome improvement from 7.9% in the previous month. It still remains higher than the unemployment rates in our country, the worst unemployment rate in our country in the last 45 years. In December, the nation had 5.3 crore individuals, 53 million, who were unemployed, including 3.5 crore who were actively seeking work and could not find any. It's a strong indictment of this government's ineptitude that India's unemployment rate in recent months has grown faster than Bangladesh and Vietnam, sir. It is also no wonder then that we are witnessing an unprecedented and worrying decline in incomes and a simultaneous increase in household debt. You know, sir, in the last 2 years, 84% of households have suffered a loss of income. Per capita income has fallen from 1,08,000 in 2019-20 to 1,07,000 in 21-22. This has naturally depressed household spending and, of course, saving. During the UPA era, mass welfare schemes ensured that we were able to pull 270 million Indians, 27.3 crore Indians were pulled out of poverty by the UPA government. Under this government's watch, 4.7 crore Indians, 47 million, have been pushed back under the poverty line. So for the first time since 1995, the annual income of the poorest 20% of India's households fell by 53%, as I mentioned earlier. And in the same 5-year period, that is the last 5 years, the richest 20% saw their annual household income grow 39%. So the poorest 20% down by 53%, the richest 20% up by 39%. This is what my senior colleague Rahul Gandhi was talking about when he spoke of two Indias. The rapid expansion in income inequality in our country is not just a grave source of concern, but, as Rahul Gandhi had pointed out, an issue that really stands to threaten the social fabric that has held our country together since independence. We've already seen one such instance from the recent railway recruitment drive, where 1.25 crore applicants applied for just 35,000 listed jobs. This grave unemployment crisis that under this government's watch threatens to convert our demographic dividend into a demographic disaster required urgency and a sense of purpose from this government, which is missing in all this talk of Amrit Kal. In fact, the poet Dushyant Kumar put it quite well. भूख है तो सब्र कर, रोटी नहीं तो क्या हुआ? आजकल दिल्ली में है ज़ेरे बहस ये मुद्दा. That's all that's going on is behas. There is no action coming out of this government. In fact, sir, this reminds me, since we had the Prime Minister quoting from a distinguished former Prime Minister, let me quote a senior member of this House who used to be a Chief Minister. He said, कहाँ जाएगा मेरा नवजवान, कहाँ जाएगा ये गरीब माँ का बेटा, कहाँ जाएगा, किस देश में रहेगा? Kis desh mein rahega is a very good question to ask the author of these words, who is none other than our Honorable Prime Minister himself, sir. We should ask him, according to his government, the answer for our jobless youth who are facing not just poverty, but an affront to their dignity and their ability to provide for their families today, that they have to wait another 25 years for their Amrit Kal. By their own logic, the government appears to have adopted a twist to Sant Kabir Das's famous doha, which in today's India means, Aaj kare so kal kare so parson. Itni bhi kya jaldi hai, jab achhe din aane barson. It is a matter, sir, of national disgrace that this government has, during a period of record levels of unemployment and distress in the rural economy, chosen to slash the funds for Manrega by nearly 25% or 1/4. Last year, in response to the unprecedented clamor for jobs, you were forced to bring in additional funding for the Manrega scheme through supplementary demands for grants in December, and that took the total allocation to 98,000 crores. Rather than learn from this experience, which we had warned the government about in my own budget speech a year ago, I had warned the finance minister this would happen. It happened, and they've still not learned the lesson. This year, they've again budgeted too little, just 73,000 crores for Manrega this year. It's an allocation that defies logic, that blatantly ignores the on-ground reality in the country. The Prime Minister kept telling us, let us see the on-ground reality, the grassroots reality. That's what the Finance Minister needs to do herself, because already out of the 73,000 crores, sir, 20,000 crores are pending in dues from last year that they have not paid. So in effect, she has provided a paltry 50,000 crores for this entire scheme, which is such a vital scheme to keep the rural population afloat. Most experts have consistently added that have argued that Manrega needs a minimum of 1.34 crores, 1.34 lakh crores, or up to a maximum, depending on which expert you consult, of 3.5 lakh crores in order to meet the increasing demand for jobs. Not only have they been an announcement government rather than an action or implementation government, but they keep promising things and moving the goalposts, and now they moved it for another 25 years.
Thank you. ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿಧ್ವನಿ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಬೆಲ್ ಐಕಾನ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ.